right, good afternoon, folks. It is currently Sunday, November 29th. We're coming up on the end of the month here, and I hope you all had a pretty relaxing Thanksgiving for the most part. Whether you traveled, whether you celebrated, whatever you did, I hope you had a nice Thursday off, and so far a pretty relaxing weekend. Okay. Either way, we're going to get into the list of what we're going to discuss today. Basically, what we do every single Sunday is I try to get a video out there showing you guys which chart setups I like for the week so you can trade and make some money with us in Trade with Tex. Regardless of whether or not you're in the $50 a month chat or you got a free trial or anything, I want us all to bank together. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Now, first things first, I'm going to do this a little bit differently this week because we have a long list. Whenever I prep up for the actual week itself, right, I show you guys what I'm doing, but I have a little note sheet. And I wanted to pull this note sheet up for a quick second just to show you guys what that looks like so that maybe it helps you prepare. And on top of that, you can see an outline of what we're going to discuss. So we're going to start it off with the NASDAQ as usual, right? Get an idea of what things are doing as a whole. Then we're going to switch it up and talk about solar, pot, okay, and a couple of other groups that are worth watching for options trades. So regardless of what you trade, options and common stock we'll focus on at the end. Couple of momentum plays early with the NASDAQ. Okay, and as you can see, it's a long list, so I'm going to get into it so we can go over this efficiently. Again, if you want to pause it and just take a screenshot of this or write it down or do something similar, go for it. Okay, because I'm just going to leave this up for one more second and then go up to the chart. All right, soak that in. Either way, we're going to get started here. First things first, for the NASDAQ, we had a pretty bullish week. And one thing that really stuck out to me about this week is that it was still on low volume, but a big contributing factor to the strength from the markets this week was specifically tech and a couple of other groups coming to life that really haven't done much lately. Energy stocks lit up, and whether or not they continue, I think that this week they removed a lot of the upside, right? So I'm not going to focus on that as much, but for the most part, we've had tech and other groups underperforming, so even just that slight gain from them made the NASDAQ outperform the S&P a lot, okay? The S&P, as you can see, moved up slightly, but the NASDAQ performed a lot better, and so did the Russell 2000, okay? So a little bit of strength from some of the tech-heavier plays. Basically, the NASDAQ moved up 4 days because we had the short week, right? So 4 out of the 4 days, and it actually closed at its highest price since that vaccine spike, right? We had the positive Pfizer news about their vaccine a few weeks back, if you guys recall. That was before the Moderna headline. That's when we spiked up and then just pulled back, and now we're closing back above that area. We're not closing above the high, but we are closing at the highest level since that, right? Since that big slide earlier. So to me, that's significant because the closing price always, takes priority. Basically for key levels and just how I'm looking to trade this, right? It's different from what we talked about here and here. Okay, things have changed. And the main thing that has changed, if you can see this basically on the chart, volume, right? Volume is a lot lower. So one of the notes that I had when I first pulled up that little note sheet is trend. Right? For the NASDAQ, I'm actually not looking to play a massive breakout or a big breakdown. When volume drops down like this, my mind immediately goes to trend trading. And the way that you do that is you enter in off the moving averages or off of a key support and you sell into resistance. So it's not the sexiest thing to say, but on Monday, I'm not looking to, chase everything up long. Mainly what I'm looking for are basic pullbacks to the lower time frame, lower length moving averages, right? And then to sell into resistance. So those moving averages specifically, I'm going to be watching the 50 hourly SMA. We're on the daily right now. And the 8 EMA on the daily. Okay, so that's this purple line right there, the 8 EMA, and then the 50 hourly SMA, I got to switch it up, is trailing down here. Okay, and you can see historically already past 4 or 5 days, that's been a pretty good risk to reward area for going long. Okay, and again, this is a good example of what I want to be doing this week. See how we have this support here and this support here, right? The red and the blue lines. Look how we based off of them multiple times for bigger moves up, and then the 50 hourly SMA overnight for a big move up. Okay, so I'm gonna keep checking the hourly time frame throughout the week and then focus on the daily for my key levels. Okay, now for key levels, just to give you an idea, we've already blown through this resistance zone. That now becomes support. So this zone stretches from 12,062.75, that's a key fib, to 12,096.75. Okay, so that's one of the support zones that I'm looking at. The other is just those moving averages. Okay, and then for resistance, we've blown through these two levels, but I actually want to see whether or not we stay above 12,249, because that's a very big resistance level. Okay, so this is going to be my point of reference for whether or not we go long earlier in the week, right? For buying stocks earlier in the week. If it does base above that, the next area is up here at that high from the vaccine spike, right? That's at 12,408.75. So just to kind of keep this moving so we don't spend, 10 minutes on the NASDAQ, basically looking at trend trade, right? Support zone is down here. Let me show you with all these levels pulled up. Support zone's here. And I want to see if we base above the yellow line. If we base above it, then that's going to be my target. Okay, so support, we're barely above resistance. Okay, and then that's going to be the big price target in the weeks to come if we can stay above 12,249. All right, so technically you have to have 4 key levels drawn up. Okay, this is the PT, resistance, support, support. All right. NASDAQ is clearly bullish, but we're looking for a trend trade, not to just chase up the breakout. All right. And I don't want to factor in COVID cases spiking up or the vaccine too much. I just want to trade price. So we're not going to talk about the holiday season too much. I'm just going to focus on price. Okay. And that's what makes me money. Now, for groups, a few weeks back when the election was first getting started, we had started discussing solar and pot stocks. And a lot of you guys made a killing on it, which is awesome, right? That's what these videos are for. I'm not trying to call another huge run-up. Again, I'm just stating facts based off of price. Solar stocks and pot stocks moved up a good bit this past week. A big part of that, and again, we're not getting political here, is the Biden team started transitioning into office. So it doesn't matter which political side you're on. Doesn't matter if you're independent, red, blue, whatever. Bottom line is these stocks benefit from that. Okay, so now what we're looking at is where exactly the breakout zone is and what we need to happen in order to keep playing these. I am already long FSLR for a swing trade, right? If you're in the Trade with Text chat, you've known that since Thursday. We initially went long because FSLR, one of our favorite solar stocks to trade, started breaking above 90.56. Right? Tried to break above it on Tuesday, okay, because this is a short week, right? So it's Friday, Wednesday, Tuesday. All right. Tried to break it above it on Tuesday, couldn't break it. And then Wednesday, when it stayed above it, we went long. Okay. I think I misspoke earlier and said Thursday, but it was Wednesday. Now, that level has broken. And for me, that's the biggest deal on this chart. I don't really care about this level at 95.72 that much. I do care about that one at 97.93, but the bottom line for solar stocks to stay in play, I want to see one of the leaders, FSLR, stay above its key fib, okay, and that's at 90.56. So that's a basic way of gauging their momentum, right? If it stays above that, the targets, and we've already hit target 1, as you guys can see, 95.72, and then the next one's 97.93. Realistically, I think this thing can go to triple digits with ease, but it's a little bit of a slower mover, so we're going to have to be patient. All right, so I want it staying above this. That's not the prettiest candlestick that printed on Friday. So what I'm thinking realistically, we get a day or two of pulling back. As long as we stay above that level, we can actually add more for the big target up there. Okay, I'll say that again. 1 to 2 day pullback. As long as we stay above this, we add more and we build a position to get up to 97.93, and then we'll reevaluate based off of how it reacts to that. All right, So these are the 3 key levels for FSLR. The only other thing that I'll say is that there are other stocks that you can trade within this industry that are pretty exciting. They're a little bit more volatile. They're a little more fun for day trading. So FSLR is when I'm looking to swing trade. If you have enough space on the watch list, add JKS. It's a great stock to day trade, right? And it's breaking above a resistance zone as well. Well, trying to. Okay. And if you want, you can pause this and write down the levels, but if you've already settled on FSLR, then just focus on one. All right. And this is a good example. Look at the intraday chart from Friday. Look how great of a stock this is to day trade, right? Not just pulling it out of my butt here. Historically, it's been more fun than FSLR. All right. So JKS, Jinko Solar, that's going to be my day trade go-to solar stock. FSLR is going to be the swing trade. Okay. And a little side note, try to keep checking the weekly for these stocks. I feel like we're just zeroing in on the daily chart. So we kind of forget that this gives a much clearer picture of where we're ranging between, right? That's the little box that's got a break. So we talked about 97, 93. That's obviously the high, but you can see the other key levels here. All right. Now I mentioned solar. Let's talk pot real quick because I was actually very confused. One of the pretty active traders in our chat, DCR, he goes by, you might have seen him on Twitter if you follow me on Twitter, DCR Charts. Okay. My handle's Trade with Tex. If you don't, feel free to follow. Pretty straightforward, right? Not that hard. But DCR had brought it up on Friday in chat, and he has a lot of good momentum call outs, especially for, different sector rotation. So he was talking about how traders were rotating into pot stocks, which I thought was unusual because Tuesday and Wednesday, pot stocks were a snooze fest, right? Basically, CGC, as you guys know, because a ton of you made money with us on the big run up on the election, right? A lot of you guys cashed out, which is outstanding. But CGC is one of our go-to pot stocks. And we watched it Tuesday and Wednesday because it got this relative volume on Tuesday. And it didn't really follow through. So when he brought it back up, I thought, well, that seemed stale last time. But the catch here is that the House is going to vote on decriminalizing marijuana federally this upcoming week. Now, if I'm being honest with you guys, and you saw it in my notes earlier if you paused it, I don't really think this is a game changer, but there are 2 things that stick out. One, no matter what you think about whether or not they get the votes, it's still a buy the rumor, sell the news event, right? You don't have to marry these stocks. You don't have to fall in love with CGC. You can just date them, right? So this week, that's going to be one of my main focuses, seeing which pot stocks are outperforming. CGC is obviously at the top of that list. And realistically seeing what kind of upside they have. The second part of it, right, outside of, buying the rumor and selling the news, is what the long-term charts are saying. So I actually assumed, because CGC, right, it's breaking out on the daily, there's nothing above. This chart doesn't give us a lot to work with. All we know that it's, breaking out cleanly. Okay, so I took it to the weekly time frame because whenever I'm struggling on any time frame and I can't get a read on it, I'll take it to the next larger one. We've gotten a read on it, but it doesn't tell us the upside. So a couple of interesting things about this past week's move. Well, the main interesting thing, we broke above old resistance, that fib at 28.20, and we also reclaimed a big historical support level. So what this is telling me is that this stock could go to the mid 32s and then 34.13 easily, right? If it gets that momentum. That's the catch. It has to have sufficient momentum. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because I believe the House vote is Thursday or Friday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to be watching this one like a hawk for a move up into the low 30s. All right. Right now it's at $29, so that's still about 10-15% upside. That definitely makes it worth watching. All right. The only thing I have in the back of my head is, will the momentum be enough? Right? Is there enough gas in the tank? So how aggressively this thing is moving is really going to weigh into whether or not I stick around for a multiple day move. At least one day I'm going to go after it. All right. So CGC, clean breakout over 2820. From a technical perspective, we're looking for a standard breakout play for a move up to these two levels. All right, that's here and here. All right. And if you like a different pot stock, there are a bunch of smaller ones. DCR had said this in chat too. There are a bunch of smaller pot stocks where you don't need to put as much size on. Okay, I'm just throwing out CGC because you can use size and you can also trade options. All right. Now let's get into the last portion of this video here, because we've talked about solar, we've talked about pot, and we're going with the names that we know, right? Last portion of this is going to be focused on bigger picture. To me, I think this holiday season is going to be weird. I'm not trying to predict everything. I'm not trying to nail a massive run up. I just want to go with what I know. And what I know is price. Now, solely based off of that, if we look at the bigger sector ETFs, right, just to track these groups, XLK is for tech, right? So I pull up these XL ETFs, the spider ones, to see what the groups are doing. That's tech. XLV is healthcare, which should actually be up more, to be honest. With the political climate right now, healthcare ETF should be up a lot more than it is. But either way, I was looking at these two, both have really solid charts. XLK does not have the momentum that we want to see yet, but this is the first week, this past week, and it's obvious, right, with the NASDAQ being up. This is the first week where we've seen XLK show an ounce of strength since this guy here, right? So basically, this was the candlestick that really stuck out last time. This was the first week where we've broken the prior week's high and actually closed above it since then. So we took about a 2.5 week break, and now it's rotating above that. If you missed it, I think it was a week and a half ago, I put out a YouTube video with a basic breakout strategy where we talked about this, right? Where we pulled up the weekly chart, the 3-year 1 week, and I said, when we rotate above the previous week's high, that right there should be prioritized a lot higher on your watch list. So the reason we're talking about XLK, take a wild guess, because it's breaking above that prior week's high, okay? And it's a slightly different situation for XLV. So for XLK, I'm gonna watch Amazon, right? Because I do like the Apple chart. Apple had a nice print off the 20 weekly. Normally the 20 weekly is a great area to get in for good risk to reward. So I do like this Apple chart, but Amazon's old faithful, and I've been killing it with the Amazon options, just to kind of be transparent with you guys. That's why I'm watching it, because I make more money with it. But basically, Amazon had consolidated in this tight box for a while. Super boring chart, if I'm being honest with you guys. If you can bear with this for a second, you'll see exactly why I like it. Went in this box for a while, and then last week showed a little bit of strength to break out of that. And what that really tells me is that if it stays above that yellow line at 3189.25, so see how we're establishing the line for everything, right? We did it for the NASDAQ, we did it for JKS and FSLR, CGC, and now Amazon. If it stays above this level, then we should see a push to 3220.73, 3257.25, and then 3275. Not to get too ahead of myself, but those would be the first two targets. So that's here and here. And we came close to 3220 on Friday, but I didn't chase it up. Again, we're just looking at trend trade, these bigger names. So we're not chasing breakouts, okay? But either way, for Amazon, those are the two targets. As long as it stays above that, nice and simple. And this is our play on tech. So if you like a different tech stock more, don't let me dictate what you trade, right? If you like Apple more, if you like whatever, watch that, okay? Those are my key levels though, okay? And then for XLV, this is a super brief mention and we'll wrap things up shortly. Just a beautiful daily chart. There's no beating around the bush here. I'll load up the stochastics too, right? We have a couple of YouTube videos on that, but I'll load up the stochastics just to show you. See how those lines are crossing up after a clean pullback to the 20 EMA, right? If you use Keltner channels or just basic moving averages, that's a clean setup, okay? So healthcare, we should see XLV pop up to this area, about 112, right? That yellow dotted line. Okay, and it's ramping off this. So if you do take it, set your risk to that 20 EMA. All right, you can play options. You can play a healthcare stock if you want. I don't care. 112 is the target. All right, that's already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 charts. So I think that's enough. However, I want to make sure you guys are fully briefed on what I'm looking at. So I'm just going to mention 2 things as honorable mentions here. Hell of a week from Zoom, because again, on the weekends, I check my weekly charts, not just daily. That is a very strong candlestick print. And again, that's off the 20 weekly. Exactly what we said for Apple. And I know this is a lot of information, right? I know it's a lot to absorb, but that's pretty, to say the least. And again, I don't care if this is Zoom or Peloton or whatever the hell the stock is. That's a nice looking chart. Okay, so just an honorable mention, Zoom signaling 477 and then 489. Okay, for anybody that watches that stock or wants to trade options on it. It does have earnings this week, so that's why it's an honorable mention and not one of the main tickers, because it's a binary event, right? It's a 50-50. Okay, and then last but not least, Natty Gas, which should be opening up in an hour here. Oh, that's the NASDAQ. Natty Gas, just wanted to mention that, nope, still pulled up the wrong ticker. Pretty clean rejection at trend resistance, right? That 20 EMA on the daily, and it's got a gap to fill below. So I actually took, I didn't put this in the chat room because I thought it was too risky. I took a short swing trade on Natty Gas. Hopefully that doesn't turn around and bite me in the ass over the weekend move, but I'm looking for a move back down to these low 270s. Okay, so just to kind of recap, I'll pull up that note sheet one last time. Hopefully this can help you guys make money. NASDAQ, we talked about trend trading. Okay, for FSLR and JKS, I'm swing trading those, but JKS is more fun for day trading. Solar stocks really showing a lot of strength lately. Okay, so solar. Pot, I'm going to focus on CGC. It's got a good bit of upside. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Okay, don't stick around too long. And then XLK and XLV. So I'm looking for a little bit of rotation into tech, and then XLV's just got a clean chart. I don't think we could ignore that. All right, just from a technical perspective, we got to prioritize what is the better chart. Okay, I'm not going to talk about EV stocks. I'm not going to talk about energy stocks. I just want to keep it simple. All right, little change of pace here. If you enjoyed the video, make sure that you liked the video and make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's such a small, simple thing, but it really helps the channel out a lot, and it helps other people get this free information straight to their fingertips so they can make some money with trading. And if you like the key levels, if you like the strategy that we put into these, join us in Trade with Tex, right? Try out a free week. You don't have to pay the $50. Try out a free week, see if you like it, see if you make some money. We focus on the educational side of things, and we're some serious traders. Okay, so on that note, hope you guys had some happy holidays, and I think we got Cyber Monday coming up. It's not really a holiday, but enjoy the week, right? Hopefully this helps you make some money. Okay, take it easy, folks.